6 dark shapes split the crackling clouds, razor-sharp knives plunging through electrified cotton. Even though the storm raged and thrashed, the elongated egg-like slivers continued their downward trajectory. Lightning flashed across the sky, throwing hues of green and blue through the tormented, billowing mass. In seconds, the shapes slit the last of the clouds and darted lower, toward the rain-lashed, howling madness below. The fast-moving shapes continued, as if alive and determined, despite the weather that battered the island under the storm. Located in the southern Indian Ocean between the roaring 40s and the furious 50s, the island and its neighbors were frequently slammed with winds over 90 miles per hour, and their geographic isolation from other land masses lent the islands another name in 1776, when Captain James Cook rediscovered them on Christmas Day. The gloomy, sterile landscape has lived up to its name: Desolation Islands. The vicious black daggers moving down toward the island at a terminal velocity of 180 miles per hour were another matter entirely. The skinny, elongated eggs were just that, pods to contain living bodies. The vehicle for orbital deployment and kinetic attack, Vodka, was unsurprisingly designed by the Russians once they had gotten their hands on the U.S. prototype for a high-altitude, low-opening halo pod of a similar design. The American pod was built with heat-resistant ceramic, titanium, and reinforced carbon-carbon, which gave its nose the same black snout as the space shuttle. But the Vodka pod was coated in a slick, next-generation polymer that reduced friction on the way down and reflected all radar and laser attempts to detect it. The older Halo pods contained impact foam and a harness that barely allowed the passenger to breathe. The Vodka was filled with a nanite gel that would absorb all impact and redirect it outward. The pod performed double duty. It protected the passenger from the extremes of atmospheric temperatures. But unlike the older pods, which would deploy parachutes at a designated altitude, jolting the passenger's speed down to a reasonable pace and then ejecting them, to free-fall further and then pull their own parachute, this pod's secondary purpose was shock and awe. It did not slow down, and it did not eject the passenger. The 6 pods screamed past an immense rock formation and slammed into the loose rocky soil at the side of a shallow river. The resulting sextupled impacts were like 6 bombs going off, spraying rock and dirt for hundreds of yards, and leaving the eggs embedded in the ground, steaming in the lashing rain. They were surrounded by a crater of sand and rock-turned glass, 1,000 feet in diameter. Had anything in the vicinity of their landing zone been alive before, it would be annihilated now. But the ferocity of the storm had seen to the last of any living creature, long before the pods shattered the ground. Anything with a heartbeat had fled the area, and nothing was present to hear the gentle cooling tick of the 6 canisters. Despite the furor of their arrival, the passengers inside the pods were unharmed. The nanite gel had both insulated them from the heat of entry and protected them from the craterous impacts. As designed, the gel had redirected the massive forces outward, adding to the devastating effect around the pods. But to the passengers inside, the shock was less than that of hitting a large pothole in a battered Honda Civic. Military engineering at its finest: protect the personnel and devastate anything in a half-mile radius of the landing. The Vodka pod's steaming outer shells detonated outward, turning the huge eggs into gigantic fragmentation grenades, further shredding the landscape in the vicinity. As the reverberating booms Dopplered away, the next layer, an outer core of the nanite gel, slid away to reveal an inner shell which cracked and hissed. These fragments fell to the rocky ground as the pounding rain diverted the nearby river toward them. The water swirled around the strange protrusions, sweeping away the larger fragments and the melting goop of industrial gel. When the gel's structural integrity finally gave way, 6 objects from the now disintegrated inner pods collapsed to the water. One of the objects was a large plastic case. The other 5 were among the deadliest soldiers known to man.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.